Before I say anything else, I need you to stop what you're doing, because what I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes is something that most physicians were never taught in medical school. It's something the cancer biology labs at Harvard, at Kyoto University, at the National Institutes of Health have been quietly documenting for over 2 decades. And yet almost nobody is talking about it. Not your doctor, not your pharmacist, not the health shows you've been watching on television. Here's the truth. There is a biological process happening inside your body right now as you watch this video. A process so ancient, so elegant, so perfectly designed that scientists who study it call it one of the most important discoveries in the history of human biology. It was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2016, and it has everything to do with why some people age gracefully, staying sharp, staying mobile, staying alive, while others decline far too soon. This process is called autophagy, and the Japanese scientist who unlocked its secrets, Dr. Yoshinori Ohsumi, spent 30 years proving something extraordinary, that your cells have the ability to eat themselves clean, to devour damaged proteins, to destroy precancerous debris, to repair fractured DNA, to silence the inflammation that is right now aging you faster than your calendar says you should be. And here's the part that stopped me cold when I first read the research. There is a specific morning habit practiced for centuries in Japan that activates this cleaning process more powerfully than almost anything else known to science. I'm going to walk you through everything today. We're going to count down 5 extraordinary mechanisms this one habit triggers inside your body after age 50, each one more remarkable than the last. And by the time we reach number 1, I promise you, you will never look at your morning the same way again. Stay with me, because the science gets breathtaking. But first, I want to speak directly to you. If you are over 50, if you are 60, 70, even 80 years old, I want you to hear this. You are not designed to simply fall apart. I've spent decades in medicine. I've sat across from thousands of patients, men and women your age, who came in with that look in their eyes. You know the look that says, I've accepted this. This is just what getting old feels like. Stiff in the morning, tired by noon. Joints that ache before a storm rolls in, skin that suddenly feels foreign, like it belongs to someone else. Memory that slips just a little more each year, and that quiet, exhausting fear. Is something growing inside me that I don't know about yet? If any of that resonates with you, I want you to type your age in the comments right now. Just your age, nothing else. Because I want to know who's in this room with me today, and I want you to know you are not alone. The fatigue is real, the inflammation is real, the fear is real. But so is this. Your body, even at 70, even at 75, still has the machinery to fight back. It never lost that machinery. It was just never given the right signal to turn it on. That's what today is about. The 5 extraordinary things that happen in your body when you practice this Japanese morning habit after 50. And that habit, I'll reveal it fully before number 1, is the ancient Japanese practice of intermittent morning fasting combined with matcha green tea performed in a specific sequence before 9 a.m. This isn't a trend. This isn't a wellness fad. This is biology. Let's begin. Coming in at number 5, and I want you to understand, even number 5 is extraordinary. Your cells begin a process that researchers at the University of Tokyo described as cellular garbage collection on a molecular level. Here's what's happening inside you right now that you cannot feel. Every single day, your body produces cells that are slightly damaged, cells with cracked proteins, cells with mitochondria that no longer function properly, cells with DNA that has been nicked and frayed by decades of oxidative stress. Under normal circumstances, these cells become senescent, what scientists call zombie cells. They stop dividing, but they don't die. They just sit there releasing inflammatory chemicals, poisoning the cells around them, creating a biological environment that invites cancer to form. Here's the word you need to know: interleukin-6, TNF-alpha. These are the inflammatory cytokines that senescent cells release. And a 2019 study published in Nature Medicine showed that people over 65 carry significantly higher loads of these senescent cells, and that this load correlates directly with cancer risk, cardiovascular disease, and cognitive decline. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. When you trigger autophagy, when you activate that Nobel Prize-winning cellular cleaning process, your body sends in what I like to call the demolition crew. Specialized proteins called autophagosomes wrap around these damaged precancerous cellular components, and they consume them. literally digest them, break them down into raw molecular material that your body then uses to build new healthy cells. It's recycling at the most profound biological level imaginable. And a landmark study from the MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston found that people who regularly activate autophagy through specific dietary timing and certain plant compounds show measurably lower levels of a biomarker called 8-OHDG, one of the primary indicators of DNA oxidative damage linked to cancer initiation. Most people completely miss this. They spend thousands on supplements, thousands on scans, but they never address the fundamental biological environment that allows cancer to take root in the first place. The Japanese morning practice, how it activates this. In traditional Japanese culture, and particularly in Okinawa and Kyoto, the morning begins with a period of stillness and light. No heavy breakfast immediately upon waking. Instead, a bowl of ceremonial matcha whisked with hot water consumed slowly, combined with a deliberate 12 to 14-hour fasting window from the night before. Here's the science behind why this works so specifically. When you have not eaten for 12 to 14 hours, your insulin levels drop to their lowest point. Your body depletes its glycogen stores, and this triggers a cellular signaling molecule called AMPK, AMP-activated protein kinase, which directly activates the autophagy pathway. At the same time, matcha contains extraordinarily high levels of a polyphenol called EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate, which a 2020 study from the Kanazawa University School of Medicine showed further amplifies AMPK signaling and independently promotes autophagic flux in human cancer cell lines. In plain language, the fast opens the door, the matcha pushes your cells through it, complete your last meal of the previous evening by 7 p.m., Upon waking, before any food, prepare one serving, approximately 1 gram of ceremonial grade matcha. Whisk it in water between 175, 185 degree, not boiling, as high heat degrades EGCG. Drink it slowly over 10 to 15 minutes. Do not eat solid food for at least 1 more hour after drinking. Repeat this 5 to 6 mornings per week. This gives you a minimum 13 to 15 hour fasting window with EGCG amplification at the most metabolically sensitive moment of the day. Number 4 gets even more fascinating. Here's something your doctor has probably never said to you. Your DNA is damaged every single day. Every single day. Not by disease, not by something you did wrong, by living, breathing, metabolizing food, being exposed to sunlight, environmental toxins, background radiation. By the time you are 60 years old, scientists estimate that each cell in your body accumulates approximately 10,000 DNA lesions per day. 10,000. Now, before you panic on that, I want you to understand something beautiful. Your body was designed for this. You have a team of molecular repair proteins, enzymes with names like PARP1, SIRT1, SIRT3, NRF2, that act as a kind of molecular maintenance crew, constantly scanning your DNA and patching these breaks before they become mutations, before they become something that can kill you. Here's the problem. After age 50, and especially after 60, the activity of these repair enzymes drops precipitously. A 2018 study published in Cell, one of the most prestigious scientific journals in the world, showed that SIRT1 activity declines by nearly 50% between the ages of 40 and 70 in human tissue samples. 50%? That means by your 70s, your DNA repair machinery is operating at half capacity. And this is not inevitable fate. It is a biological problem with a biological solution. Because here's what the same research showed. NAD+, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, is the molecular fuel that powers SIRT1 and the entire sirtuin family of DNA repair enzymes. And NAD+ levels are directly influenced by 2 things: fasting state and specific plant polyphenols, both of which are central to the Japanese morning practice. A groundbreaking 2019 study from Washington University in St. Louis showed that fasting for 12 to 16 hours significantly elevates NAD+ precursor availability in human subjects over age 60. And matcha's EGCG, along with another compound found in traditional Japanese fermented foods called spermidine, found in miso soup, natto, and fermented soy products often consumed at Japanese breakfast, has been shown to upregulate the NRF2 pathway, one of the master switches of DNA repair and antioxidant defense. And what happened next shocked even researchers. A 2022 clinical trial published in Geroscience followed 167 adults over age 60 who practiced a form of morning fasting combined with green tea polyphenol supplementation for 6 months. The result? Measurable improvements in telomere length maintenance, the protective caps on the ends of your DNA strands that are the single best biological predictor of how fast you are aging. Participants who maintained the practice showed telomere degradation rates 38% lower than the control group. 38%. That is not a supplement company study. That is peer-reviewed science in a Geroscience journal. Practical instructions. Number 4. To fully activate DNA repair alongside your morning matcha, add a small bowl of miso soup, traditional Japanese style, with fermented soybean paste as your first solid food of the morning after your matcha window. Miso provides natural spermidine and additional polyphenols. Timing matters. Consume within the first 30 minutes of breaking your fast. Look for unpasteurized, traditionally fermented miso. Pasteurized versions lose most of the active compounds. Pair with a small portion of natto, fermented soybeans if available, one of the richest dietary sources of spermidine on the planet. Do this 4 to 5 mornings per week. This combination, matcha fasting window plus miso plus natto, creates what researchers now call a polyphenol spermidine synergy that amplifies DNA repair signaling far beyond what either compound achieves alone. I want to tell you about a woman named Margaret. Margaret Chen, 68 years old, retired school teacher from Portland, Oregon. She came to see me after her annual physical, the one where her doctor told her for the 2nd year in a row that her inflammatory markers were elevated but not alarming. She told me later, not alarming. I went home and I cried in my kitchen for an hour, because to me it was very alarming. Margaret had watched her mother die of colon cancer at 71. She had watched her aunt deteriorate from Alzheimer's at 74. She was 68 years old, and every morning she woke up feeling like someone had filled her joints with sand. Her hands hurt. Her lower back hurt. She was exhausted by 2 p.m. And she told me this quietly with some embarrassment, checking herself for lumps every week in the shower. Fear had become her morning companion. I introduced Margaret to the Japanese morning practice, not as a cure, not as a promise, as information, as biology. I explained what autophagy was. I explained what EGCG does to AMPK signaling. I explained what her inflammatory markers actually meant at a cellular level. And something happened that I see happen with patients when they truly understand their own biology for the first time. She stopped feeling like a victim of her body, and she started feeling like its partner. 6 months later, Margaret's C-reactive protein, her primary inflammatory marker, had dropped from 4.2 milligrar L to 1.8 milligrar L. Her morning stiffness, which she had described as feeling like the Tin Man before the oil, was dramatically reduced. She was sleeping through the night for the first time in 3 years. And, she told me something that I have thought about many times since. She said, I feel like I got my mornings back. And when you get your mornings back, you get your whole day back. And when you get your days back, you get your life back. That is the power of working with your biology instead of against it. Number 3, and I need you to understand something before we go further. Inflammation is not your enemy. Acute inflammation, and the kind that rushes blood to a cut finger, that mounts a fever to fight a virus, that is one of the most magnificent survival mechanisms in nature. But chronic low-grade inflammation, the kind that simmers silently in your bloodstream for years, for decades, that is a different story entirely. Scientists have a word for it now. Inflammaging. Inflammation plus aging. The Harvard Medical School Aging Research Program has identified chronic systemic inflammation as the common biological root of virtually every age-related disease we fear most. Alzheimer's, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, arthritis, macular degeneration, and almost universally, cancer. Here's the inflammatory molecule I want you to know, NF-κB, nuclear factor kappa B. NF-κB is like a switch. When it's turned on, it floods your system with pro-inflammatory cytokines. It promotes tumor growth. It degrades joint cartilage. It breaks down the blood-brain barrier. And after age 55, in most Western adults, that switch is stuck in the on position because of processed foods, because of sedentary living, because of chronic stress, because of a gut microbiome that has been depleted by decades of antibiotic overuse and poor dietary fiber. But here's where the Japanese morning practice becomes revolutionary. EGCG from Matcha has been shown in multiple peer-reviewed studies including a 2021 paper in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry, to be a potent inhibitor of NF-κB activation. Not a mild inhibitor, a potent one. In one study from the University of California, Davis, subjects who consumed high EGCG green tea extract for 8 weeks showed a 25% reduction in serum TNF-alpha, one of the primary downstream products of NF-κB signaling, compared to placebo, 25%. In 8 weeks, and the fasting component amplifies this dramatically. A 2020 study in Cell Metabolism, tracking subjects practicing 14-hour overnight fasting windows, showed that this single behavioral change reduced circulating levels of arachidonic acid, a key inflammatory precursor, by over 20% and significantly downregulated NF-κB pathway gene expression in white blood cells. But here's where it gets truly fascinating again. The traditional Japanese morning practice adds a third anti-inflammatory element that most Western health enthusiasts have never heard of: wakame seaweed. Practical instructions, number 3, use ceremonial grade matcha, not culinary grade, which has roughly 3x less EGCG. Look for matcha from Uji, Kyoto, or Nishio, Aichi. These regions produce the highest polyphenol concentration due to their shading technique. Add dried wakame to your miso soup each morning. Just 3 to 4 grams provides a meaningful dose of fucoxanthin. Consider omega-3 synergy. Consuming a small amount of wild-caught salmon or a high-quality omega-3 supplement within 2 hours of your matcha further suppresses NF-κB through the resolvin-protectin pathway. Avoid high-sugar foods within 2 hours of your matcha. Glucose spikes rapidly reactivate NF-κB, effectively canceling out the anti-inflammatory benefit. Stay with me, because number 2 is the one that patients cry about, not from sadness, from relief. Let me tell you about the energy problem. When people over 60 come to me complaining of fatigue, the bone-deep kind, the kind that sleep doesn't fix, the conventional medical response is often to check thyroid, check iron, maybe check cortisol, and those are important. But most physicians never look at the most fundamental source of cellular energy in the human body: the mitochondria. Your mitochondria are the tiny powerhouses inside every cell. You learned about them in school, probably. But what school didn't teach you is this: by age 60, most adults have lost 30 to 40% of their mitochondrial function. Not because of disease, because of mitochondrial decay, a process where aging mitochondria become damaged, fragmented, and inefficient. But unlike the DNA repair system, the body struggles to clear these broken mitochondria out, unless you trigger autophagy. More specifically, a subtype of autophagy called mitophagy, the selective degradation and recycling of damaged mitochondria. When mitophagy is activated, your body doesn't just remove the broken mitochondria. It signals new mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of fresh, efficient, high-output mitochondrial networks. And this single biological event is what patients experience as energy returning, mental clarity returning. The ability to walk upstairs without stopping halfway, the ability to get through an afternoon without collapsing on the couch. It feels like youth coming back, because in a very real, very measurable, very biological sense, it is. A 2021 study from the Buck Institute for Research on Aging in Novato, California, one of the world's premier longevity research centers, showed that intermittent fasting of 13 to 16 hours activates mitophagy through a pathway controlled by a protein called pink-1-parkin. And EGCG from green tea, yes, again, has been shown to independently activate PGC1-alpha, the master regulator of mitochondrial biogenesis. In a 2022 study from Keio University in Tokyo, elderly subjects who consumed high EGCG green tea twice daily for 12 weeks showed a significant increase in VO2 max, a measure of cellular oxygen utilization, and reported subjective energy improvements that were clinically significant compared to placebo. The body was making new power plants. Practical instructions. Number 2, your morning matcha activates PGC1-alpha. The fasting window activates pink-1-parkin mitophagy. To maximize mitochondrial regeneration, add a light movement within 30 minutes of your matcha, even a 10-minute walk. Exercise, even light exercise, combined with fasting state and EGCG, creates a triple signal cascade for mitophagy that is far more powerful than any single intervention. Consider adding CoQ10, 100-200 milligrams with your first meal. CoQ10 is the molecular electron shuttle inside mitochondria, and its levels decline with age. Rhodiola rosea, taken with morning matcha, 300-500 mg, has been shown to synergize with EGCG in supporting mitochondrial membrane integrity. Mistake to avoid: most people exercise before they address their inflammatory baseline. Starting with the fasting matcha combination first, even for 4 to 6 weeks, prepares the cellular environment so that exercise is dramatically more effective at inducing mitochondrial regeneration. First, the fasting state activates SIRT1 and SIRT3, the sirtuin proteins that physically remove aberrant epigenetic acetyl tags and restore youthful gene expression patterns. Second, EGCG from matcha has been shown in a 2020 paper in Nutrients to act as a DNMT inhibitor, blocking the enzymes that incorrectly silence tumor suppressor genes. In other words, EGCG wakes up your cancer-fighting genes that aging had turned off. Third, the psychological component, the stillness, the ritual, the mindfulness that is central to the Japanese practice of consuming tea, activates the vagal nerve, reduces cortisol, and, through the cortisol BDNF pathway, directly influences the epigenetic expression of neuroprotective genes in the hippocampus. The morning stillness isn't decoration. It is molecular medicine. When you sit in silence with your matcha, when you are present with it rather than scrolling your phone or watching news, you are generating a biological signal that tells your body, you are safe. You are not being chased. You are not in danger. You can invest in long-term maintenance now, and your genes, your actual DNA instructions, respond to that signal. A 2023 study from the Okinawa Institute of Science and Technology, studying the lifestyle habits of the Okinawan centenarians, the longest-lived population in the recorded history of humanity, identified 3 morning habits shared by virtually every participant over 100. 1. Deliberate, slow movement upon waking. 2. Consumption of green tea or miso before solid food. 3. A period of quiet and sitting, breathing, observing in before engaging with the demands of the day. That's it. Not a pharmacy. Not a hospital. Not a supplement protocol that costs $400 a month. Morning. Tea. Stillness. Practiced with intention. Practiced with consistency. Practiced with the understanding that you are not just sipping a drink. You are sending instructions to your genome. You're telling your cells, repair. You're telling your immune system, search. You are telling your mitochondria, rebuild. You are telling your DNA, you are worth protecting. Let me give you the complete protocol now. This is what the science supports. This is what I have seen work. The Japanese morning DNA repair protocol and after age 50. Step 1, upon waking before 7:30 a.m., do not look at your phone. Do not turn on news. Sit for 2 to 3 minutes in silence. 3 slow, deep breaths, in for 4 counts, hold for 4, out for 8. This activates the vagal nerve and begins cortisol modulation. Step 2, prepare your matcha, 7:30, 8 a.m. Use 1 gram ceremonial grade matcha powder. Water temperature, 175, 185, not boiling. Whisk in a bowl or mug until fully dissolved and slightly frothy. Optional, add the juice of 1/4 lemon, increases EGCG absorption up to 13x. No milk, no sugar, no sweeteners. Drink slowly over 10-15 minutes. Remain seated, calm, present, no screens during this time. Step 3, light movement, 8:30 a.m. A 10-15 minute slow walk outdoors or gentle stretching, tai chi or yoga. Not intense exercise at this stage. Light movement amplifies mitophagy signaling without spiking cortisol. Step 4, first solid food, 8:30, 9 a.m. Miso soup with wakame seaweed and tofu, traditional preparation, unpasteurized miso. Optional addition, small serving of natto, fermented soybeans. If you can acquire it, the spermidine content is unparalleled. Follow with whole fiber-rich food, vegetables, legumes, whole grains, eggs, or wild-caught fish. Avoid high-sugar breakfast foods. They acutely spike NF-κB and negate anti-inflammatory effects. Step 5, supplements to consider with first meal. CoQ10, 100-200 mg. Mitochondrial electron transport support. Vitamin D3, 2,000-4,000 IU. Broad epigenetic regulation. Omega-3 DHA EPA 1-2 grams, resolvin pathway anti-inflammation. Always discuss supplement additions with your physician, particularly if you are on medications. The fasting window, last meal the previous evening by 7 p.m., first solid food between 8:30 and 9 a.m., This creates a 13-14-hour window sufficient to activate autophagy, mitophagy, AMPK, and NAD plus precursor elevation. Frequency, 5 to 6 mornings per week. I want to close with something that has nothing to do with biology and everything to do with why biology matters. I have been a physician for a long time, and the thing that breaks my heart, the thing that has driven my research and my practice in these conversations is not disease. It is surrender. The moment when a person decides that what's happening to their body is simply the price of getting older and that there is nothing to be done, you are not a passive observer of your own aging. You are a participant. Your morning matters. The first thing you put in your body matters. The first 10 minutes of stillness before the world demands things of you matters. Not because a wellness influencer told you so, because Yoshinori Osumi won a Nobel Prize proving it, because the Buck Institute proved it, because Harvard proved it. Because hundreds of Japanese centenarians living past 100 in mountain villages with their matcha and their miso and their morning silence proved it with their lives. The body can still heal. The body can still respond. The body is asking for the right signals. You just have to decide to send them every morning, 1 cup at a time. If this resonated with you today, if something I said made you think differently about your mornings, your cells, your body, your future, please hit that subscribe button right now. And I have a question for you in the comments. What is your age? Just type it right down there. No explanation needed. I want to know who's in this room with me. Because this community of people who refuse to accept unnecessary decline is one of the most powerful things I've ever been part of. And tell me, which of these 5 mechanisms surprised you the most? Was it the DNA repair enzymes, the mitochondrial regeneration, or the epigenetic reprogramming at number 1? I read every comment, every single one. And if you know someone, a parent, a spouse, a friend, a sibling, who needs to hear what I shared today, please share this video with them. Because sometimes the most important thing we can do for someone we love is show them that their body is still on their side. Thank you for watching. Thank you for taking your health seriously. I'll see you in the next one.